Was it a question before?
Okay, come on, it's good to go. Good to go. Good evening, everyone. Today is September 3rd. I'm going to call the meeting order at the time of 6 p.m. Next item is agenda, approval of the agenda. The motion reads that the agenda for council meeting of September 3rd, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Kirkby.
Excuse me, Mayor Shankar.
Yeah.
I would like to ask for a change in the agenda, please. Item 7.3, it concerns me. I'm not there in the flesh, and given the email or the system that I'm on here, I can disappear at any moment. So I would like to have 7.3 deferred to our next meeting when I'm actually present and can speak to it.
Okay, so we'll check that through. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Would the mover was Ms. Campbell? Would you like to, would you okay with the amended?
Yes, I am.
All right, seconder was Councillor Kirkby. Are you okay with it? Or do we need another seconder?
I don't think there's much to be talked about. It's just a report. I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
I'm not in favor of that. Councilor McConnell decided he was going to excuse himself at the last report that the integrity commissioner we had a few months ago. Whether he's in the flesh or not, I don't think you should defer it. I think we should discuss it. And unfortunately, he's away, but I think we should continue on.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Councillor McConnell?
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm lost there when you say what did Councillor Burton say that what I did a few months ago? I'm afraid
She
she's
said
lost
that
me there.
she said for the last integrity commissioner report, you left the room.
Well, that's what people normally do when they're in conflict, and I left the room simply because I felt that I would like to have you people given the ability to discuss without me sitting in the gallery. I know from experience when we have people sitting in the gallery and we're discussing whatever involves them, there is a propensity not to speak your mind in some cases, and we've done things that maybe we shouldn't have done. By leaving the room, I gave everybody the opportunity to express themselves freely without any interference by me. And I would like to add that I have not, to this date, despite that it is available online, viewed that meeting, so that nothing that anybody said would prejudice me against them. So I did what I felt was proper in that instance. However, in this case, I have been once again accused of something of which there is no case, and I believe I have to speak to it.
Councillor Campbell?
Through you,
Hello?
Mayor Shankar. Through you, Mayor Shankar, can I ask Councillor McConnell a question?
Sure.
Sure.
Councillor McConnell, will you be leaving the room if we defer this when we discuss it the next time?
Well, I will not be leaving the room because there's no penalty involved here. The integrity commissioner ruled that nothing violated the code of conduct. So it's a simple matter of addressing it and going on from there. I left the room before, as you well know, because there was a matter of a penalty involved, and I didn't want to affect anybody's opinion on that penalty. I felt you should be able to speak freely. There's no penalty involved here. It's simple a matter of commenting on the report from the integrity commissioner. On top of that, the last time I spoke to the integrity commissioner, which was in July, I indicated that I would not be present at tonight's meeting other than from the East Coast. I indicated what the situation was down here and as far as our internet goes. And already I've been knocked off visually from our meeting and could be taken off verbally at any time. Because of that, I asked specifically the integrity commissioner to make sure this report came to council so that I would be present, in other words, at the second meeting. And I don't know what happened or why it's on for tonight, but the integrity commissioner agreed to that in that conversation. On top of that, I have attempted to contact the integrity commissioner from here in regards to a couple of questions that I have. Last Friday, when I got the agenda here, I attempted to contact Lindsay and the integrity commissioner, and Lindsay will concur that she did not receive that transmission. I didn't realize that until today, when I was able to get in touch with her. So I have to presume the integrity commissioner did not receive the email either. So given all of that, I would like to be back in town, have normal internet available to me, speak to the integrity commissioner so that I can speak with intelligence to council on this issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on this? So we have a mover on the amended version. Do we have a seconder on the amended version? We do have a seconder. Sorry, Councilor Kirkby. So I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of deferring 7.3 to next week, next meeting? All in favor?
Oh, good.
1,
That's me.
2, okay. All opposed? It's didn't carry, Councilor McConnell, so we're gonna have to go with the original
You
agenda.
got kidding me.
Pardon
It
me?
goes on. It goes on. I can't believe it. I cannot believe this. Okay, that's fine.
All right, so we have to do the mover and seconder again. So I need a mover for the regular agenda. Councilor Burton, seconder. Councilor Kirkby, all in favor? Opposed? Yea or nay, Councilor McConnell?
Oh,
Can't see ya.
since I'm not visible, so just assume that I am a yay unless I say otherwise, okay,
All
for
right.
the rest of the meeting. It would be easier that way.
Okay. Carried, thank you. All right, third item is declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest? Sorry, Deputy Mayor Young.
Item 12.5, the insurance renewal, it's for information only. Sure, if I have to vacate my seat, but
Lindsay, does she have the-
So do you, Shanker, it's totally up to the.
Okay.
The council to make that.
thank you.
Your choice. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. So there are no presentations this evening and no delegations. So the next thing we're going to do is approval of the council minutes from August 12th. Motion reads that the council minutes dated August 12th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Lockett and Deputy Mayor Young. Any questions or discussions about the minutes? Seeing none, I call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, as item 7 is communications and petitions. We have 4 items under this one. Item 7.1 is a memo from the Treasury Board Secretariat regarding the Community Emergency Preparedness Grant. We're going to go through each one. Any discussion on that one? No. Item 7.2 is a provincial planning statement from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Any discussion there? Councillor Cook.
Yes, through you, Mayor Shankar. Just wanted to ask Matthew, through you, who will be attending the training provided for the provincial planning statement?
So it would generally be myself, our economic development officer, as well as our chief building official. And then as we get more information, we'll also provide that to council in terms of what the major changes are to the provincial policy statement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on that one? Okay, 7.3 is a correspondence from Tony Fleming of Cunningham Swan, a final report concerning an Integrity Commissioner report on code of conduct. The motion reads that the correspondence and report of T. Fleming, Integrity Commissioner, be received and that the report be made available to the public on the town's website. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Burton, Councillor Lockett. Any discussion? Councillor Burton?
There's a couple things that I would like to say when.
Hold on, Councillor McConnell. I got
turn.
Yep, I'll get you next. Councillor Burton's up first.
I just want to say that we all are accountable for our actions sitting around this table as a council in whole. This is the 3rd or the 4th complaint. I'm not too sure. This is costing our taxpayers a lot of money when we have to contact the Integrity Commissioner regarding these complaints. I just think maybe we should just be more accountable for our actions and not cost the taxpayers any more money than we need to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I am absolutely stunned at the member of council who made that comment. If she was paying attention, she would have noticed that last summer in July, I was accused of a number of things by a member of council who has chosen to remain anonymous. As a matter of fact, I seem to recall Councillor Kirkby being surprised that the councillor wasn't named, but they haven't stepped forward to admit it. In August, that same councillor accused me of several things. All of those were examined by the Integrity Commissioner and dismissed without any finding of guilt, and none of them rose to the level that affected the Integrity Commissioners Act. The same member of council then accused me of several more things in January, to which the Integrity Commissioner found that I was not guilty. As a matter of fact, they even found that somebody else had done one of those and I didn't do either of the others. So that member of council is responsible for the thousands of dollars that has been spent by this town. And that member of council should be well aware of how council works. As a matter of fact, council was instructed by the Integrity Commissioner in one of those reports.
Oh, losing.
Coming up.
There's something while we're waiting for him to come back.
The only thing I wanted to add about that is this is like almost 7 months that is taken, according to this time investigation thing, started in March and in August, we get. Is that normal? Like, is 7 months?
Yeah, well, it is very frustrating. I think part of it is you have to give 30 or 60 days to respond.
Oh,
And if people take 30 days and then each person, then they get to respond to the answer. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it goes a bit back and forth. So I think that's probably normal for the integrity commissioner. Would that be correct, Matthew?
I'm not quite sure on how the process runs, but I think our code of conduct says that it should be tried to be wrapped up within 90 days.
So we got Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, I honestly didn't know how bad Councillor McConnell's internet was. I know last time he joined us from there, he was able to attend the full meeting.
He was doing good.
Yeah,
He was doing good until
I don't
he
know.
dropped.
I believe he is with us, just appears to be mutated.
Oh.
Oh.
Are you still there?
It's frustrating when the internet goes out. It is frustrating.
Mhm.
Can we-
I don't know, can we, I guess I look to Lindsay. Can we, if there's no further discussion, can we call the question?
For you, if Councillor McConnell's not there and can't respond, it's up to council if you want to kind of proceed and move on.
What do you guys think?
If he comes back on, can we go back to what I have to say? Or can we-
Not really after we vote.
Can you
I almost feel.
defer it to the end of the?
Oh, wait, are you there?
Just locked off.
Can you defer it to the end of the agenda today?
I think we can defer it till he comes back in. And maybe he can say a few more things.
If he wants, can he come on for next meeting and?
Well, we can't really go back. It's on the agenda. If we open it up, we have a mover and seconder. I mean, there's not much, all we're doing is putting it, what we're supposed to do is put it up, make it available to the public,
Mhm.
put it on town website.
Basically for information, eh?
Right. In my opinion, Mayor Shankar, I think we should just move on. We've had the.
Call the question,
Call the question and.
and he did have most of them say, that's good.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, would Councillor McConnell not have an opportunity at our next meeting to pull it out of the minutes to speak on it?
I guess we could speak to it again. Is that, well, they look this way.
So that's what council wishes to allow,
Well, he would have the opportunity through you, Mayor Shankar, when we go to approve the last meeting's minutes to have that pulled out, would he not?
I know, pulled out for the discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that is an out. All right, let's do that. So if we call the question, we're not gonna discuss it anymore, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Is that protocol?
So at the next meeting, if during the minutes, the approval of minutes and wants to make a comment that council wishes to allow, that would be.
Okay, let's do that. So I'm gonna call the question. All in favor?
What's the question again?
That the correspondence and report from the Integrity Commissioner be received and the report be made available to the public on the town's website. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? You're opposed? Okay,
I want it received. It's the second part of that motion. I would like to have the report received,
what's the second part?
that it's made available to the public.
You don't want it made available to the public? That's part of the Integrity Commissioner's rule.
Okay, so I will still say,
You're still going against the Integrity Commissioner? Sure, okay. Ms. Camp, do you want a recorded vote or anything?
no,
No? Okay. All right, moving on. 7.4 is a response from the St. Lawrence Lodge Board of Management. 6-2024. Any discussion on this one? So if you'll remember, this is the letter when we asked them to provide us with provide us with the numbers of Prescott residents that are in St. Lawrence Lodge. And then secondly, we asked also for an operational review. And on both counts, we were told that we have to give good reasons why we want these things. And the first one, we haven't had numbers in 5 years. We're supposed to get them quarterly,
At least yearly.
minutes quarterly, and we didn't get it. So, I mean, the first question answers the second question as well. Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The first thing I think of is, unfortunately, what are they hiding? Why aren't they showing, I mean, we pay in to St. Lawrence Lodge as a municipality. We should have access to all the information. We're partnering with this organization and we don't have access to this information.
And it took them 2.5 months to respond that way.
Right.
Excuse me.
So unfortunately, you know, that's a red flag for me.
Councilor?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, what is the position of the other municipal partners with the St. Lawrence Lodge? And
So the other ones that are involved the same way we are the city of Brockville and the town of Gananoque, and they both support our motion.
And so I understand that their initial ask was 175,607, which was an 86% increase. They've come back with a revised amount that's 73,471.
So 36% increase.
36%. Is that, do we know if that 36% is kind of normal across other municipal? I know it's that extension of the question I sent in, but I know cost has gone up.
So,
Oh, he's back.
yeah, I'll get there. So part of the problem is there's a St. Lawrence Lodge and across the street is Sherwood Park Manor.
Yep.
Sherwood Park Manor, which we help donate money to.
Yep.
They run with just government funding. They don't get any municipal funding. Is that correct? Correct. Yeah, St. Lawrence Lodge is getting municipal funding, not just from those three, but also from United Counties.
Right.
And they came in, I think, like, you know, for everybody it was 86 to 100% over. So that's the main reason why we want an operational review, because something's wrong. You can't just have an 86% increase in your budget.
So I guess the second part of my question, because we've seen the response from St. Lawrence Lodge, the board, demanding data. But if us and the other municipalities are on board, shouldn't we be dictating to them versus them dictating to us?
Should be.
Thank you.
What's our next steps?
So I think if council's comfortable, I think I would just, I can respond on behalf of council to say, you know, we've seen a substantial increase, you know, the first iteration and the second iteration, as well as their use of employment agency nursing, which far outweighs and exceed the budget allocated to it. So just those two issues alone would be cause for the operational review. In terms of the resident days, I think we haven't seen them in 5 years. It should be something that's fairly simple to provide. And given the fact that we don't have that many residents there, it shouldn't take that long to verify Prescott addresses, especially when some residents will live there for multiple years. So it's not like you're checking every single one every single year.
Right.
To give you a little bit of justification for that, time and again, when we're asked for a donation amount, whether it's KGH, BGH, St. Lawrence Lodge, or not St. Lawrence Lodge, but Sherwood Park Manor, they've identified a number that's attributed to Prescott in terms of usage. When we go back and question that, it's considerably different. So just last week, we asked an organization to break that down, and it went from 45% of the total to 27% of the total. So I think we're well within our right to ask for that, because time and again, we see a decrease of probably about a third by just taking a look at those addresses and properly allocating them to to either Abbotsford, Cardinal, or Augusta, and in which case would increase the United County's share as opposed to Prescott's. We do have a very large population that has a Prescott address in the address, but do not live within the boundaries of Prescott. I believe that our motion did not rise to the board, but was asked by the board chair for further clarifications before it went to the board.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll make sure it goes to the board. Okay, please.
So if you're comfortable with that, I think it was, I think we can justify our requests and also ensure that Brockville and Gananoque receive along with the United County as a copy of it.
Thanks.
Okay. We're good with that, 7.4. Councillor McConnell, since you were off, what we did, we did wait, we called the motion, what we decided, we passed the motion, but next meeting, when we do the minutes, you can pull it out of those minutes and discuss it there. Fair enough?
That's very fair, thank you. I did have a question in regards to what you're discussing now, though.
Sure.
I came in the middle of it. I'm actually sitting over at my neighbor's outside porch in the middle of a semi-hurricane here now. It's pretty windy. But we have a member on the St. Lawrence Lodge board. I believe it's Ruth at this point. While I was away, did we hear from Ruth in regards to her impressions as a member of the board?
Go ahead, yeah.
I am on the board, Lee. For the June meeting, I was not there. I have not received minutes from the June meeting yet, and this says that a copy of this letter went to the board of management, which I guess that's what they consider us. And I've had this discussion with Matthew. I went through all my emails. I've not received this letter. And unfortunately, if this comes up at the September meeting, I'm not going to be at the September Lodge meeting either. Maybe I can get them to move it. I don't know.
We'll hear from someone if it's on there.
Yeah.
I mean, I checked with another counselor and they didn't see it either.
No.
Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I guess, but didn't you already say that this letter that we sent did not go to the board? It went somewhere else. So if it went somewhere else, didn't go to the board, there's no reason Ruth would have gotten it.
Right. That's what Ruth's confirming she didn't get it.
Okay. Well, the chair of the board is also a counselor in Brockville. So Brockville, as you mentioned, is equally concerned about the situation. Matthew does have a very valid point as far as the actual addresses go, and we have run into that before. So I think as far as checking the addresses go, that's an excellent idea. It's benefited us in the past. It could again.
Thank you, Councilor McConnell. Okay. We got direction there, Matthew. All right. 8.1 is consent reports. We have the information package. Is there anything anyone wants to take out? Councilor Kirkby?
Thank you through you, Mayor Shankar. I'd like to take out the Quinte West Canada Community Building Fund.
Okay. Done. Anyone else? All right. So the motion reads that all items listed under consent reports section of the agenda, minus the Quinte West one, will be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Campbell, Councillor Lockett, any further discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No committee reports, mayor reports. Just a few things. We had quite a busy few weeks here in town with the pop-ups and all the different events we've had in town. I think we spoke to them before, the end of Shakespeare, the Folk Fest, that was well done. And then the community play by Shakespeare was also very good. There was a food bank golf tournament on the weekend. That was very well attended. I went to the summer company, which is something that Leeds and Grenville puts on. There was 5 students from the area that did a summer company program where they create a small business and they make a job for themselves over summer. That was well attended. That was hosted here. And then we had a barbecue for all our summer students. That was also very nice. So that's it for me. We're going to try and make this section be about the committees that we've been on. So let's try and keep the conversation to that. Councillor Burton, we're going to start with you.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I've been away on and off most of the summer, so I've been able to attend any meetings. And really, there's been no meetings except for Shakespeare that I missed. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate. So that's it for me.
Thank you, Councillor Burton. Councillor Campbell.
Fireman meeting is right now. I am here, so I will get information from it at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I haven't been in town myself that much, but I did receive a report on operations. So I'll just read it briefly. So the second marina sanitary pump is currently being rebuilt, which will allow for a spare pump to be available if one should fail in the future. Sound foam installation at the ACC is ongoing. Stop sign installation and replacements. The clock tower will be lit blue for September for Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Starting the preparation for relocation of the dog park, which needs to be moved to make way for the sports fields at the Seymour Recreational Complex. A couple of the projects are happening here on the second floor, electrical and HVAC, appliances being installed, trim work, final plumbing. Water tower is continuing to move along on time and on budget, so that's a plus. Prescott Center Drive tender will close September 11th. The first phase of the sports field designs should be completed next week and go to council September 16th. The tender would be released shortly thereafter. Thank you.
Sorry, what's closing September 11th?
That is the Prescott Center Drive tender.
Oh, tender. Like what? Okay. That's closing?
Thank you, Matthew.
Councillor Lockett.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Last Thursday, I attended the Board of Health meeting.
As you've probably been following in the paper, they're still working very diligently with a lot of work for this merger. It's going quite well. The health unit has also sent out 1,400 letters twice to all the schools in the area trying to get immunization forms. They're not saying they want these kids immunized. They just want to know who has what and where they stand. And apparently they're following up with phone calls. Measles is in the area, in the Leeds and Grenville area. So the more information they have on these immunization records, the better prepared they're going to be. So they've just been contacting with the schools, and some schools are right on top of it, and some are not quite as diligent, but they're persistent. If they don't have immunization records for children as of tomorrow, in most cases, the child can be suspended from school for 20 days. Which they're frustrated about because that's a government thing, but after 20 days, if they still don't have it, the child can come back to school. So they're really frustrated with the whole provincial guidelines. But that's their dilemma, one of them.
Councillor McConnell.
I left town right after our next council meeting and I'm still on the East Coast. I'll be back for our next council meeting. So quite obviously, I haven't attended any meetings. So I really have nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I'm on the Folk Fest committee. We had a really successful day. The talent was amazing. And the town of Prescott also was a sponsor, and they had the town of Prescott on a banner, and as well after every act made sure to thank all of their sponsors. So just goes to show you that our sponsorship went a long way, and a really great example of the collaboration with the economic development department as well. They had pop-ups ahead of time and they used our town socials, so that really helped the event and got a lot more people this year than last year, and hopefully next year it'll be back.
What was attendance like this year?
I'm not sure what the grand total was, but I know there were several people that came in like kind of halfway through to the end, so I'm not sure what the total number was, but
I know I was there in the beginning and they were saying
was
because they were back end loaded with the good talent,
was
they would come in later. So
really
it's
good.
good.
And then we had a planning advisory committee meeting last week and we approved six applications, so that was pretty exciting.
Mhm. That was good.
That's all for me.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks, everyone. We're gonna go into staff reports. Our first one is Chief Rennie Rayner with the fire protection grant from 24-25. Recommendation reads that council directs staff to proceed with an application for the fire protection grant for the purpose of cancer protection to support the purchase of a bunker gear dryer. Mover and second or just for discussion? Kirkby and Burton, sorry, Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton. Chief, floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the Solicitor General earlier on this year opened up applications for the fire protection grant. It's the first time this has ever been completed. It's over a 3-year period, $10 million a year for a total of $30 million. And basically what they've done is they have a couple of different packages, what they call, for us to be able to buy in. So cancer prevention, so equipment, personal protection of equipment, and minor infrastructure. So minor infrastructure could be something such as a washer or special dryer. And then what we did is we decided within our decontamination procedures that if we get on scene, we have a piece of bunker gear that needs to be taken out of service, we bag it right on the scene. And then we have overalls that people can wear. And that way, all of the products are kept in the bag. We take it into our room, wash it, and then we have a dryer. The dryer we have is a homemade unit, which does work well. But we thought with this opportunity to apply for this grant, we would actually purchase a proper industrial unit. It will actually dry the equipment in 50% quicker because we don't have secondary sets of gear for everyone. We have some spares. So what we do is we wash it, we put it on this new dryer. It'll do 2 sets at a time. And instead of it taking, say, 12 hours completion, it's about 5-6 hours. And with this grant, if we were able to move forward with council's blessing, and we are able to receive the total, it's going to be totally cost over that grant. So you ready to ask any questions you have?
Sure. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for you, Chief? Sorry, Chief, I do have a question, and please forgive me if I sound silly. So is the new dryer prevents cancer?
What it does is it's the whole package. So what we talk about prevention of cancer, years ago, when I was younger in the fire service, it was cool to have black gear, your helmet, everything, right? And the problem is those products of combustion are carcinogenic.
Gotcha.
So what they're saying is if you're able to have a SOG, a guideline to bag that equipment on site, that way no one's breathing that in, it doesn't go back in the cab, it goes into our utility truck in the box, and then it goes straight to the washer. And if one of our members has to be clean, we have a shower for that as well. So we kind of have a 3-pro attachment to do this, right? So with this being able to dry it quicker, it puts it back in service quicker so that the gear goes back into service as opposed to staying on the rack longer drying. So under the cancer prevention, it's part of that procedure.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for Chief? Councillor Burton?
Just a comment too, and kind of maybe it's sort of a question. So if the contaminant stays on the bunker gear, say I'm number 21 and my friend is number 20, can that contamination move over to the other bunker gear and contaminate both of them if it's not washed properly and dried properly?
So we have an SOG that does not allow that to happen.
Okay,
So if my gear is soot from head to toe,
yep,
it does not go on the ready racks that you're talking about.
right,
It would stay bagged. And then when we can wash it, when someone's time is their time, then we do that.
right,
So,
right. So, but if you didn't have this professional dryer per se, this commercial dryer, and it's sitting on the rack,
yeah, so,
other bunker gear can be contaminated.
so, yes, so many
Okay.
years ago, before they have these extraction washers that we have, it's like an industrial washer. Is you would just use a regular washer, right?
Mhm.
And then over the years, you would have this stuff and you'd wash it too. Well, the problem is you're contaminating it, right?
Right.
So it's totally separate, both unit washer and dryer. It's not used for anything else other than bunker gear.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sounds like a no-brainer. Okay, sounds good. Let's call the question. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Thanks, chief. You can leave.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have another meeting, so thank you again for your support.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Absolutely. Okay, item 12.2 is staff report 64-2024. Facility rental rate adjustment, facility rental fee bylaw from our manager of community services, Sam Jodwin Miller. But I think Matthew's going to read that today. I have a recommendation that reads that council approve the facility rental rates as outlined in staff report 64-2024 to be implemented on October 1st. And that council directs staff to bring back a draft facility rental fee bylaw to the council meeting of September 16th, 2024 for review and consideration. Mover and seconder for discussion, please. Deputy Mayor Young, Councillor Burton, Mr. Armstrong.
Very much. So what you have before you this evening is kind of a revamp and a rethink of our various rental fees. Our previous iteration was last done in 2021, right in the middle of COVID. And really there was an impetus to get people back into those facilities and grow the usage. Now that we are out of COVID and thankfully, and then we're seeing a lot of usage as well as a lot of interest in people using our various facilities. And we thought it would be a great opportunity to take a look at the operational costs, take a look at what others are charging, and then determine, what is the appropriate fee for each of our facilities. So we really broke it down into two categories: service clubs, not-for-profit organizations and associations with Prescott participants, and then Prescott for-profit businesses or private individuals. And so really the difference between the two is that for the service clubs and whatnot, we would provide 75% of the fee of the for-profit businesses or private individuals. HST is in addition to those amounts. We also have highlighted when people might be required to have a SOCAN license, if there's playing, things like that. And then also highlighted where kitchens might be applicable. So at the Leopold Community Center, as well as here at Town Hall, with the addition of the new back room now has a kitchen. So again, kind of taking a look at all of that and saying where is the right number and how should we kind of move those forward. So in front of you this evening, you see amounts for the Kinsman Amphitheater. So previous to this, it was just $100 per event, regardless of the length of time. So we tried to develop an hourly rate and then being able to better align it with what people are requesting and asking for. The Leopold Community Center, and whether that requires a setup and tear down, whether it requires the kitchen, and then various types of organizations that might use it. Prescott Pool, that would be for summer of 25. Town Hall, really it's the rooms on this floor. that we'd be referring to in terms of the Ruth Evanson room, the fitness room at the far end, the meeting room directly beside council chambers, and then the new open space that is just nearing completion. So more than happy to answer any questions there might be. And really, this is to try and recoup some of those variable operating costs, whether that's staff time, additional electricity, additional garbage, and trying to recoup some of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions, Mr. Armstrong? Sorry, Councillor Campbell, then Councillor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shanker. I just need to understand these rates are the 2021, or these are elevated rates from 2020?
These are elevated rates from 2021.
And is there kind of a percentage of what you elevated them from and to?
In some cases, yes, but for the amphitheater, as I mentioned, it was simply $100 per event before, regardless of the number of hours. So that's where we kind of came back and said $50 an hour. Most events are a couple of hours, so that we're able to identify that. The ones for this particular building, because we didn't have the other 3 rooms, then we didn't have them back in 2021. And then in terms of the facility rates for the Leo, there's varying degrees of how much we increased it by, but really it's more in the 10 to 15% range. Because it is a very large facility and considerable to clean after each use.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. I have a couple of questions. The one is about the dead ice. So dead ice, Matthew, and I sent these questions in. It's $20. Sorry. It's $40, correct?
So it's $20 per person with a 2-person minimum.
But it has to be booked online. So my question there is when does dead ice typically occur?
So in the month of August, it occurred anytime that we were open that we didn't have a rental for. So that may have occurred throughout the week, could have been in the evenings, could have been on the weekend. When we move more to this September, those dead ice will only be certain afternoons of the week. Our weekends are fully booked, and then times after 4 p.m. Or 4:30 p.m. are pretty much booked every single day. So, but that still allows our staff to work out in the various parks and gardens and whatnot. Because we don't have our seasonal students anymore, then that daytime person at the arena needs to do other responsibilities as well. So then when we get after October and after Thanksgiving, then we expand those hours a little bit more again for dead ice.
So a current afternoon shift worker, let's say after Thanksgiving, what is the afternoon shift till? Is that till midnight or is that till 11?
It's about 11:30.
11:30. So I guess what I'm asking is from 10:30 to 11:30 at night, is that ice typically dead?
We offer it. That's mostly our core contract users that have that. We haven't offered it before, but certainly we could going in the future.
And I just know a lot of youth use the dead ice and probably aren't the savviest of booking online. I know in Cardinal Edwardsburg, they can just show up and they pay $10 each, but that doesn't mean that has to be our model. What I worry about is we have employees at the ACC till 11:30 and the ice is sitting dead for an hour. Over the month, you might have 20 hours of ice that could have been dropped in at versus, just some individuals dropping in and paying to use that ice. So the booking online one is kind of, for me, I understand why we do it prior to Thanksgiving because we might not have staff there, but after Thanksgiving, to me, it should be, if you drop in and we already have staff there and the ice is sitting unused, we should be able to allow people to come in and pay for it.
Part of it is that we want to make sure that they've signed the waivers, that they understand exactly what the risks are, things like that. And then also at the same time is under a certain age, you need to be accompanied by an adult. So those are some of the things. If one of the nice things is then we don't have to handle cash and that type of thing at the arena. If somebody comes in at 10 o'clock at night, then we have to start worrying about, cash and things like that, and that creates some other complexities. So certainly point well taken, and we'll look at that. I would like to just also identify that it's a big facility to clean, and so while ice rentals might not be happening, there's certainly a lot of work to clean up all of the rooms and the public areas and things like that.
Which they could while people are out on the ice. It's not like they're watching the games typically, right? And I mean, as far as cash, most kids have on their phone, the Interact, right? I think we have that payable there. Okay, so I'm fine with that, but there's something that I personally, I don't really like having to book the dead ice online. I think it's kind of
You just said they have all their payments on their phone.
they do.
So that'd be easy.
Dead ice doesn't work that way any other where that I'm aware of, right?
I mean, it depends on sorry to interrupt, but if we get a lot of kids or young adults or whatever it is that want to do it, look at it again and we can change.
I'm just looking at it from money, to be honest. The ice sitting there and money not invested into the area that we could use. So my other thing that I'll talk about here is, and I know that I've heard this before, that the Tri-Council, that Cardinal Edwardsburg has dropped their user fee rates, but it still is on their website. And their last bylaw was passed in April 2024. And so if you're a non-resident in Cardinal Edwardsburg, you would pay $128.75 for non-prime time ice compared to the $110 as a resident. Brockville would charge you $177 as a non-resident. So it gets into the user fees. Brockville also charges for use of their soccer field. It's $20 per person for non-residents. Cardinal Edwardsburg this year started charging for their boat launch, which was $25 for non-residents, which I paid. But what I'm saying here is, I don't see any user fees. And let's be honest, that means that we are shouldering the burden for some of that extra cleaning or stuff that needs to be done if we're renting to non-residents. So for me, I would either like to see Cardinal Edwardsburg drop that officially, or I would like to see us add in some wording for non-residential ice rentals and field rentals. I have not seen anywhere where they charge for baseball, right? I don't see them charging for their hall rentals, but I would think user fees could almost apply for our pools for the use of the Leo and possibly the use of the pool. And I think we're kind of in a position where we should think about that, because we could probably use the funds to pay for fields coming up in the ACCC.
Thank you, Councillor Kirkby. I know that Prescott is a central hub for a lot of this area. And a lot of the facilities we have are used by residents from out of Prescott. But they also, when they come to town, they shop, they eat, they have something to drink. They do other things as well. So one of the things we're trying to do is draw people to Prescott. I don't know if we want to try and kind of like the parking ticket thing too, right? Or
All for it.
let's keep drawing them in first before we do a little switch and bait. But I mean, it's a good point. It's a good point to bring forward. And I know I've had that discussion with my colleagues in Edwardsburg Cardinal, and I'll have that discussion again with him about the user fees.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think for the facilities that we're offering, I think some of our fees are a little low, to be honest, right? And I think that we need to have some higher prices to recoup it.
Hey, yeah. You good?
I'm good.
Councilor Burton?
Thank you. I'm kind of on the same road as Councillor Kirkby. If we have access to a computer, if a senior walks in and says, I want to book some ice, but I don't have internet and I don't know how to do it. Do we have, in my opinion, we should have a computer that our staff can say, if you want to book ice, I will sit with you and help you do that. Just like cutting down the barriers to rent the ice. And, you know, somebody who doesn't really realize that we can book ice online, they can walk into our facility and talk to one of our staff and they'll say, actually, yeah, I can sit with you and help you fill out the forms and rent the ice. So we're not turning away anybody. Right?
Tablet.
Right? Or, yeah, it could be a tablet. Yeah, absolutely. But just something that, because just this last year, I had a conversation with a couple staff members up in Munich because I'm there every Friday night. And I said, like, how many ice, like the dead ice is available and, different conversations. And sometimes I'm like, unfortunately, like we had 8 people wanting to rent ice and they didn't know how. They didn't know how to access the computer and stuff, and they couldn't show them because there wasn't a public tablet or computer on hand for them to show them. That's something to think about.
Would that be something Walker House could advertise and accommodate for some seniors or people that might want to book in the daytime or?
Book your ice through the Walker House?
Yeah,
Library.
Well, I'm just,
library too, yeah.
yeah, I'm just not saying just seniors, but there's some people middle-aged that are not savvy. Like, I'm going to tell you right now, my husband would not know how to do that. Would not know how to go online and book ice.
Is there any chance, Matthew, if someone came to town hall, like downstairs?
So, yeah, I'll have a discussion with the arena staff. There's no reason why we wouldn't help somebody. There are computers at the ACC and certainly staff will be able to walk people through that. So that shouldn't be an issue. We were renting anywhere from 10 to 20 hours a week of dead ice in the month of August each week. Didn't have any issues or complaints with the process.
The only other thing I thought of too is, and you see this with other professionals, like if we have open ice available, can we list it on Monday? Say, these are the open ice we have available this week.
Mm-hmm.
Call this number or book online at this type of thing. And trying to utilize as much as like Councillor Kirkman said, bring all the dollars we can, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say too. Like let's make it so accessible that people are very easy.
Dana Valentine had that, we had that iPad that sat on the thingy that, sorry, it sounds terrible. But maybe that's something we could use, something like that, if it's anchored in the lobby. Book your tea times here, book your ice times here.
And maybe some information sheet right beside it saying, this is how you log in, this is how you do it, or whatever, if staff are busy.
Councillor Campbell?
Yes, so I thought about what you said about town hall, like in the old days, I was in Ottawa, so there were a million arenas. You wouldn't go to the arena to book the ice, you'd go to town hall and someone would help you there, because to me, arena staff are running the Zamboni. I don't feel that they're administration should be there, but I don't know what they do, but I think it'd be way easier just to come to town hall.
If you know ahead of time, right?
Yeah, that's part 2 of my question, I guess, is how long, Matthew, if I book dead ice at 2:00 for 10:00 tonight, is that even doable?
Yeah, I'd like through Mayor Shanker. So some of the things like we introduced the dead ice last spring as a trial, and I think there's some some interest to do it in the fall, but that was a very busy fall with a lot of moving parts, so it wasn't a good time to do it. It was very successful in the spring, and then we tried it all of August. We said, look, the staff's gonna be there the whole time. Let's open all of it up. And so what happens is that the dead ice will open up 7 days in advance. So if something's not booked at the regular rate, then there's a 7-day rolling window where, you go to the next day, and the next day opens up. And it was booked a lot, like 50% more than I thought it would be. And those are some of the things that we went through. It's okay, and it is fairly, we want to make sure that there's a signed insurance agreement, and then also the payment. So that we're working through those details of trying to simplify that process as well. And also, where should we open up the dead ice and when should we open it up? Because it was used a lot by various groups of doing different things on the ice in various ages. So it was beneficial throughout the days. So one of the things that we want to do is have it so that there is an option at the rink. But again, it is a good point that if there's only one staff there at certain times and they're busy, they're somewhere in the rink, and you don't want to have somebody kind of track them down. And usually the dead ice is booked minimum of 24 hours in advance. So if you're booking now, you'd have to book at least like 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Nothing else would kind of still be open for you. So that's kind of the process. Yeah, it closes out 24 hours before. So that's what we've done so far, and we're going to meet again this week to kind of go through what the next 6 weeks look like, rolling up to when the staff is back in there full time.
So in closing, I would like to see people be able to book ice when it's open on the spot. And I know if we have 2 employees there, 1 employee there, to me, Cardinal Edwardsburg does it with 1 employee or 2 employees. There's no reason Prescott can't. And a Friday night, Thursday night, Saturday nights in Spencerville, I know because I have to drive a truckload of kids there and then go pick them up at 12:30 at night when the rink closes. It's full.
It does sound like one of the issues is the insurance. Does it not? Even for dead ice, like individuals, would they still have to sign the waiver?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's the only thing.
There you go. So
I'm sure there's ways of coming around there. One other question I have along that same idea is, when does the canteen open?
It will be open September 15th. And actually, we're backing it up a day because I believe there's a home opener for September Rangers. So it'll be September 14th.
I just wonder if something we can look at maybe next year, because I've had lots of times I've driven by and there's lots of cars, and I don't know if it's profitable to have the canteen open earlier if there's 100 kids there at tryouts and stuff like that.
It'd be great if we had that many part-time and seasonal staff, but we just don't between the marina.
Okay. All right. Throw it out there. Oh, Councillor Young, Mayor Young.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I have a question about, the paragraph about the community grant criteria and about fee waivers. I'm just not sure how that would work since we only have limited intake. So if I wanted to request a fee waiver, say for December, and we weren't having another intake until February.
So in that case, we would bring it forward to council outside of the intake periods, but if for a lot of our users, I'll use let's say the food bank wants to put on a fundraiser. In our minds, we would waive, if they requested it, waive the fee because it's going towards a community partner that we already support through the community grants. But if they wanted to put on something that isn't fundraising related or something like that, then probably the nonprofit fee would apply. Or if they wanted to make that request to council, we could do so.
Okay, and I had one more question.
Okay, Tracy, you're allowed. Justin's got the quota.
My only other question was the fee structure broken down to 2 categories about Prescott businesses and private individuals paying more than the service clubs. Like they both of those groups pay property taxes. And should there just be one fee for everybody, I guess is my question.
Yeah, certainly. I think because most of those service clubs, not-for-profits, are either volunteer-based or fundraising based, then that's kind of been the split before. But if council wishes to only have one fee, then that's certainly a possibility as well.
Because I was thinking like if it's a service club or something, they might be able to apply anyway under the community grant to get a break that way. But I kind of felt like we were penalizing Prescott residents when I looked at it.
Or the opposite, or the opposite, you're just helping out the service.
Oh, no, I did think about it that way too, but maybe they could apply like under the grant or something.
I think that by applying under the grant, then we can actually get them, make sure they are a not-for-profit. They're not just saying, oh, I'm with this organization, here I am, you know. That's why we do it that way, correct? Okay, anyone else? Oh, sorry, I got Councillor McConnell, then Councillor Kirkby.
Last one.
Hey. Mayor Shankar, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. I agree completely with Justin's viewpoint. I think you should be able to go and dead ice and rent it on the spot. I don't think you should have to rent it ahead of time online. I think he's got the right idea. Matthew said something in regards to opening the canteen on September 14th, I believe it was. And the reason we can't open it earlier is because we don't have the staff. They're involved with the marina. I know we had a discussion, can't remember whether it was our last meeting or the one before, in what to do as far as the operation of the canteen this winter, and we made a decision. But given the fact that this was a trial balloon suggested by Matthew last year, that is using the marina staff, excuse me, in the arena as well, perhaps we should have a report on how that has actually worked out and whether any other suggestions could be made. Maybe it worked well, maybe it didn't work well. Obviously, it didn't work well enough that we could open the canteen in August. So perhaps we should have a look at that.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkby?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The last one, I promise. The fitness room rental, Matthew, that would be charged to any user. So I will put it to you this way. I believe last year South Granville Minor Hockey Association teams were using that after practices for no cost.
So that still applies, that if you, during an hour before or an hour after you rented the ice, then we would still provide it free of charge.
So with that in mind, I would actually think that we should charge them, even though, you know, I think that they're paying for the use of the ice. They have the track that they can use. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but after somebody uses it, you have to clean it, pretty much.
Not every single time, depending on what they're using it for, if they're just warming up, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think really the concept was to try and get them off the track so that so whoever is currently using the ice isn't necessarily also being bombarded by that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think there should be a fee to use that room. So you're saying current structure is 1 hour before or 1 hour after, sorry?
Either one.
Yeah, so during, before and after. If no one else is using it. If someone else is using it and paying rent, then obviously not.
Along that line, Matthew, do we rent it out to anyone other than the people that are on the ice before and after?
We have had some rentals. It hasn't been huge, but certainly from time to time, there's been users.
It's a way of getting them to use it, and then future we can.
As a person that ran off-ice training for my teams in the past, I paid to use the Leo. Right? So to me, it's off ice. It's an extension, right? It's extra. And it's something, in my opinion, that should be charged for. And I don't think $20, it's $20 for use of it.
But I mean, it's going in one hand, and it's coming out the other hand, right? They're gonna pay us, but we're already giving them $5,000 every year anyway.
Yep.
Right? So it's gonna come out of that.
But that does not come out of that. That would come out of team funds. So that would be funds that South Carolina Minor Hockey wouldn't pay that. The coach would collect team funds to pay for that. Or the manager. So anyways, we can move on.
It's food for thought for sure. Okay, anyone else? Is he in the dark? You okay there, Councilor McConnell?
You forget it's an hour later here, it's getting dark. I will
Oh.
disappear into the nether regions, but I'll still be able to see you and talk.
Okay,
Forgot about the time.
all right, so we good to move this to a call the question? Anyone like me to reread the recommendations? Here was. Council approve the facility rentals as outlined in staff report 64-2024 to be implemented on October 1st. And the council directs staff to bring back a draft facility rental fee bylaw to the council meeting of September 16th for review and consideration. Forget who moved it and seconded, but all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, 12.3 is staff report 65-2024, water and wastewater Ontario regulation 453-07, financial plans from our CEO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. The recommendation reads that council receive and approve the water and wastewater Ontario regulation financial plan for the town of Prescott in accordance with Ontario regulation as it pertains to the renewal of the town's of Prescott's municipal drinking water license. Mover and seconder, and then we can discuss. Councilor Kirkby, Councilor Campbell, Mr. Armstrong, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. So with our drinking water renewal submission, which is in 2025, we're required to submit along with the application a financial plan, in particular for water, but a lot of municipalities do water and wastewater at the same time. So we engaged Watson and Associates to undertake that financial plan. That is what you see in front of you this evening. It makes certain assumptions around inflation as well as growth, and then capital projects and expenses related to both water and wastewater. So if Watson, we do have a couple of representatives from Watson with us this evening, and that can take us through kind of the presentation portion. And so that's Nancy Neal from Watson and Associates. And so I'll hand it over to Nancy, and then she can walk council through the report itself. I have, if you'd like, you can share your screen, Nancy, if you would like.
Yeah, I could do that. Thank you. Good evening. Let me just try and share my screen here. Are you able to see that?
Yep.
Okay, great. I am joined tonight with a colleague of mine, Tina Chitsand, who was instrumental in pulling this together over the last month. So I've got a brief presentation. A lot of it is accounting related, and so I'll try and not get into too much accounting jargon through this, but just take you through a few key components of the requirements for the financial plan, talk about the purpose of it, the legislative requirements specifically for the water. Again, it is recommended for wastewater, but not required. It is a requirement for getting your water license renewed once every 5 years. So we'll take you through some of that. Explain sort of the differences of what you see in a rate forecast or budget versus what you would see in an accounting document. These are presented similar to what you would see for a financial year-end statement. And then talk about some of those financial indicators and go through with the recommendations that you need to consider to get all the proper approvals in place for submission to the two different ministries to get your water license. So we were retained, as Matthew explained, to undertake this. The financial plan is a requirement as part of your submission to gain your water license, and it is a requirement under the Safe Drinking Water Act 2002. It does provide an analysis of both capital and operating needs and available funding sources, so both the revenue and expenditure side of things. And it is based currently on your 2024 budget and long-term 10-year forecast. However, it is a living document, and at some point in the future, if something significant changes, there's nothing stopping you from amending the financial plan and resubmitting it to the ministry. Over the past 20 plus years, there has been significant legislative changes occurring to both the water and wastewater sector. A lot of it stemmed from the Walkerton crisis that took place back in 2000. The Safe Drinking Water Act was one of the pieces of legislation that was put in place, and many of the rules and protocols of what we have to include in a financial plan are stipulated in that act. For municipalities or local service boards that provide water services, once every 5 years, you have to reapply to be able to take water and provide it to the users that are connected to the municipal system. So it is something that is required by the province to be undertaken. As part of the regulation to the Water Opportunities Act, there was also a guideline that was called Towards Financial Sustainable Drinking Water and Wastewater Systems. And between the regulation and that other guideline, it really sets out what is required and what is included in what we've provided for the financial plan. The financial plan does represent one of 5 different elements that are required to obtain your license. So there are other components that staff will be working to put together as well. It does have to be submitted as part of your application, which is actually due for submission 6 months prior to your current water license expiring. It does have to include a minimum of 6 years to the financial plan, with the first year beginning in the year that the license gets renewed. Therefore, what we've included here is actually starting in 2025 and going out to 9 years to where your current forecast ends in 2034. As noted earlier by Matthew, it is a requirement for water. It's also encouraged for wastewater. However, it's not mandatory right now that you undertake the wastewater financial plan and submit it, but it is encouraged, and at any point, the legislation could be revised to also make that mandatory. So it's a good thing you've gone ahead and undertaken that component of it as well, and we'll be submitting that to the province so that you'll be in compliance if that legislation comes in over the next 5 years. As noted, the financial plan is one of 5 components, with the other 4 components being the drinking water works permit that is required, as well as an operational plan that is based on the drinking water quality management standards, accreditation of the operating authority, that is yourself. So there is training required and accreditation for those that work with the water system that's needed. The financial plan itself, of course, and then you need a permit to take water. All of those 5 components is what constitutes getting the approval to continue to provide water services. As part of the regulations, the Ontario Regulation 45307 is what governs the license renewal when it comes to the financial plans. It does require a council resolution to ensure that it is a financially viable system. And so that is part of the statement that it's required to be submitted through the ministry with the financial plan. And then a statement that the financial impacts have been considered by yourself for a minimum of those 6 years. Again, we've included 9 years in the forecast. The financial plan has to include 4 main statements. One is the statement of financial position, which really sets out what your assets, liabilities, and debt is. A statement of operations that shows those revenues and expenditures, your accumulated and annual surpluses or deficits. A statement of your cash flow, which really looks at your operating, your capital needs, your investing and financing transactions that are anticipated to take place over your forecast. And then there also has to be a statement regarding whether or not there are any lead service pipes in your water system, and if so, what is being done and to replace those in time. The province wants that removed, any leads pipes in your system as quickly as possible. It's our understanding through staff that there is no lead pipes in the system. However, there may be some private connections. Those you're not responsible to change out. So there'll be a statement in the financial plan that you don't have any lead pipes right now in your system. The financial plan does have to be made available upon request without charge. So if someone was to come in and ask for a hard copy, you would have to provide them a hard copy of the plan at no charge. The financial plan also has to be provided and made available on your website so that someone can read it on there or download it if they wish. And there has to be notice given once you approve the financial plan to anyone in the public who is served by the drinking water system. And a copy of the financial plan must be submitted to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Further information that's required in preparation of it includes those financial assets and liabilities, your net debt, those cash flow for operating, investing, changing in cash positions and cash balances. If municipalities that have more than one system that isn't interconnected, they can do one financial plan for the combination of the systems. They don't have to do individual different financial plans for each system. And then if the financial plan is for a new system or is related to a renewal for an existing system, as I mentioned, at any time you can amend the financial plan if something significant changes due to requirements of what is needed, for example, for replacement of your infrastructure, or if new infrastructure is being brought on that wasn't anticipated during this forecast period. As well, the information in addition to what is prescribed in the financial plan can be included in there, or if it's not known at this time, we could exclude it, but once it becomes known, it then could be added into a future amendment. There is a difference between what you see, as I mentioned, as a rate study or a budget, because those are prepared typically on a modified cash basis versus what we have to do for financial statements as a full accrual basis. Some of the differences are in how we deal with some of the expenditures and how we report them. For example, capital in a budget is just part of your capital forecast of projects that need to be undertaken, where what they're called in a financial plan is a tangible capital asset. Things such as life cycle costing. When you budget, you always look to replacement value of those capital assets and try and plan to put money aside to replace them, not at historical costs, but of course at future costs. Where on a financial plan, you actually look at those historical costs and report on those historical costs. Debt for any borrowings have to be reported differently. In your budget, of course, you always want to make sure you're planning to pay for both the principal and interest payments each year. On a financial accounting side of things, interest is considered an expense, and the principal amount is actually considered a debt reduction. We don't amortize or write down assets on your budget side of things. We do have to include that amortization expense on a financial plan in an accounting basis. Your reserve transfers are included as an expense, say a transfer from your operating budget to a reserve. On the financial plan side, transfers such as that form part of your accumulated surplus at the end of the year. And things such as development charges, if you impose them, the Canadian Community Building Fund, or what was formerly known as gas tax revenues, they are something on the budget side that is a revenue source to help to fund out of a reserve fund your expenditures. On the financial plan, they're considered deferred revenue. So there are minor differences in how we have to report for budget purposes versus a financial plan accounting type document that we've included here. Some of the key indicators on your statement of financial position for water services, we see that there is a decrease in your net financial assets over the forecast period from 25 to 34. And that is mainly because you are adding tangible capital assets. So there is an accumulated surplus anticipated by the time you hit 2034. As well, on your statement of operations, you see a similar thing. And you see an expense to revenue ratio growing from what is right now 87% to 100%, which shows that you are in a good financial position as well over the forecast. The statement of changes in net financial assets and debt, of course, is showing that your acquisition of new capital assets is just under 3.9 million over the forecast, and your annual surplus is slightly less than that at just under 3.2 million. That provides a ratio that is growing from 0.29 to 0.82. On average, 1.0 is a good target to be looking towards. So your cash and cash equivalents are decreasing because you're spending more money on those tangible capital assets over the forecast period. Similarly, on the wastewater side, we've provided the similar indicators. With the wastewater, you're actually showing an increase in your financial assets. You're not replacing as much, so there is a decrease with the write-offs of your existing wastewater infrastructure happening over time. Again, you are still showing an accumulated surplus, though, of over $4.7 million. And your tangible capital acquisition, you can see, is about 2.5 million. So your annual surplus is growing over the forecast period up to 9 million. Now, keep in mind, there may be a lot of replacements for tangible capital assets just outside this forecast period that you're planning towards. Again, your ratio, you're in good standing, and your cash or cash equivalents at the end of 25 and 34 are very healthy. And so you're in a positive position for this plan as well. Recommendations, again, you will need to pass the financial plan report, provide notice of that financial plan passage. It should be advertised to all your water users, and then make sure you submit the plan and the resolution from council passing it to the Ministry of Affairs and Housing, as well as provide that council resolution to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. That is my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Nancy. Are there any questions for Mrs. Neal on this report? Okay, well, thank you very much. Looks good. Looks like we're in good shape and our water is nice and safe. So we appreciate you sticking on the line today. I know it was a little longer than you thought, but thanks.
That's all right.
So I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Can't tell. All right. Thanks very much. Oh, they're gone.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to staff report 12.4, 66-2024, public access hours at tennis courts. This report is from Sam Miller again, but I think Mr. Armstrong is going to take the floor on this. Just for information only. There you go.
Thank you very much. So we have been in contact with the tennis club and discussing possibilities around public access time. They came back with the times and days of the week as noted in the report. Some of their requests were that the town staff be responsible for locking and unlocking the gate. We might modify some of those times to better align with shifts, that sort of thing. But it is of note that we now run 16 hours a day, 7 days a week at the arena. And so, and there is a double staff on for a certain portion of that day. So we'll be able to address some of those times that aren't necessarily a traditional Monday to Friday, 7 to 3 time. So more than happy to answer any questions that might be, but I thought it was a good first step. We can see how the fall works and make tweaks perhaps for 2025.
Thank you, Matthew. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. I know that I've been here 30 years and I've never seen this be accessible to the public. So it's good. Councilor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Could we make it easier and have them call a number or something, have a code system if they want to have access so it doesn't use staff time?
Sure, we are more than happy to explore any of those. Anytime that we don't have to open up for no one, then that certainly helps.
Mm-hmm. There might be a number that they can call if you want access at this time. Please call this number and give them the code and off they go. Might be something simple like that. I love that we're creating a partnership too with the tennis club.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Oh, Councilor Kirkby.
You're welcome. Through you, Mayor Shankar. My question is there any waiver here required or insurance implications?
So it is a town facility covered by town insurance for public use. Generally in the same way that when we run free skating, that sort of thing, that there's no waiver required.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Perfect. Okay, thank you, Matthew. Next is 12.5. Deputy Mayor Young, what have you decided?
I can step into the gallery.
Okay, item 12.5 is staff report 67-2024, 2024-25 insurance renewal. This report is from CAO Treasurer Matthew Armstrong and for information only. And please note that Deputy Mayor Young has declared a conflict that is going to sit this one out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and to council. So we changed insurance companies last year from Intact Insurance to Marsh. Throughout that process, we didn't have necessarily a lot of time to explain all of the coverages that were available. This is the standard pretty much package for municipalities that Marsh offers. And so if there's specific lines in there that you say, well, I don't think we really need, it's not something that we can just take out of the package and save money. So did want to note that our liability coverage is $50 million per occurrence. And there's, for most of those claims, it's a $10,000 deductible. So when you kind of go down through it, there is a property insurance and equipment as well. Our blanket limit is 112 million, total insured value of 110, and then there's a number of breakdowns beyond that. Something that they break out is marina docks. So as we've been replacing those, the value has obviously gone up. And then bridge over the railway, which I'm not sure was completely covered in our last insurance, but is covered in this one. And so we've provided specific information to the bridge. They've agreed that it's in a condition in which they can insure. And so if there was a catastrophic failure to the bridge, that we would be covered in that case. So that's a portion of the increase that you're seeing in the values. We have obviously crime, comprehensive crime insurance, automobile insurance, accident insurance for our members of council, as well as accident insurance for volunteers when they're doing duty with the town, and the local community liability insurance that we're able to offer to those that are renting our facilities at a low cost. And so that ensures that we're covered, as well as those that are using the facility. So we did, last year, we went from 383,000 to 279,000 in terms of savings. So a little over 100,000. This year, we're coming back up to 324, but really a large portion of that, or the vast majority, is just in relation to the additional amounts for property and equipment. So making sure that we're maintaining those values that would equate approximately to replacement of the facility. When you take a look at the other portions, automobile rate went up by 3%, low risk event rate 2%, general liability only 5%. So really, and the property insurance itself, the rate per $1,000 of coverage did not change. So really, it's in those values and property values that changed, and overall, our insurance would have been much closer to 4% had those property values not been changed as part of our policy. So overall, still good news. We're still saving approximately $60,000 a year from where we were paying. And then this year we put in a 5% increase for the entire year, which equates to approximately 15% for the last 4 months of the year, which this policy applies to. So it's just a small variance, less than $1,000 from budget to actual that we'll experience in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions on all those numbers? I think the bottom line is we're still less than we were 2 years ago.
Absolutely.
And we've included the ACC.
We include ACC, we're covered the bridge, we have increased the values of our property and equipment insurance to reflect replacement values. And so overall, I think that's some good news.
Very good. Thank you very much. Come on back.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm presuming Tracy stepped aside because of the fact that we changed insurance companies. We still have the same agent, which is Irving H. Miller.
That's correct. We still use Irving H. Miller as our broker, and that didn't change when we changed insurance companies.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Safe now. Okay, 12.6, the staff report 68-2024. Water treatment plant sand filter upgrade from Nathan Richard, our Director of Operations. I have a recommendation that reads the council directs staff to proceed with the water treatment plant filter upgrade with Rosemec 2311812 Ontario at a value of $438,000 and $350 plus tax. Mover and seconder for discussion purposes. Councilor Burton, Councilor Kirkby, Mr. Richard, it's all yours.
Thank you, through Mayor Shankar. So in December of last year, council approved the development of the designs for the upgrade for the water treatment plant filter system, and the value of the project was between 350 and 450,000 in 2021. So part of the process, it is gravity filters that currently is used in the treatment plant, and they regularly require backwashing because as the water goes through, stuff gets plugged, and you kind of have to reverse the water to get the things that are in it out of it. So it's a very labor intensive process, and you do have to use clean water to do the backwashing. And then the process is currently not that they're using now is not kind of achieving the desired results. So one of the technologies is an air scouring method where you can introduce to the backwash cycle, and that improves the overall integrity of the filters. It's a better response to challenge source water quality, and it's a reduction in the maintenance efforts. So a demonstration pilot was conducted in 2021, and it was observed that there's basically little balls of mud that collect, and they're kind of on the media that needs to move along, and the air, this air that comes in, it actually helps move those mud balls kind of around and break them down and get them out of the water much better than the current backwashing method. So also a cleaner sand filter would provide longer run times between backwashes. So currently the backwashing happens about every now, and if they have the air scour in there, we push it to every 48 hours. So it does improve the time frame that's required. So once they did the pilot, it was recommended to remove the surface wash system, which is what they call the technology now, and then install the air scour within each of the filters, and then an air pressure blower that blows air through the piping system, and then all the piping to go along with that. And so this again would result in a reduction of the clean treated water being used to do that backwashing process, and then also give you cleaner filter material. So at that time, they did call a couple other water treatment plants that use this type of process. The Aries is the company name that puts this mechanical system in. And all the operators said that it works as suggested, and they were satisfied, and it did improve their process. So there's the technology that goes in there, but then we also need a contractor, engineering contractor to install it. So that's where there's not many companies that do this, and Aqua has recommended Rose Mechanical to quote on this, and so that's where we got the quote in there. Local company out of Long Sault. They have a reputation for completing to do this project. So they provide the engineering services along with the approvals through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation of Parks, because you do have to, it is a very formal change that you do with the ministry to change your water treatment plant. So the total cost from them was $398,500, and then Aqua will provide the construction administration to oversee all the work that is done on time and done correctly. Rose Mechanical, again, there's a list of things that they will provide. So they'll actually get the Aries blower system, and they'll install it with the blower and all the piping and catwalks. And so there's quite a bit of equipment that does go into it, and they'll do all the field reviews and inspections and submissions to the Ministry of Environment. So the other item to note is that it will reduce. So if we're not using that clean water that we've already treated to do the backwashing, then we've got more water available for future, essentially. So right now, the backwash water is using up about 7.5% of the plant capacity, and if they use this other system, it'll drop to 2.5%. So again, that's a major savings on just not using that clean water for a reason it doesn't need to be. So financially, the money will come from the water treatment plant reserve, and the balance at January 1st of this year was $997,000. And again, it will reduce the usage, and then less changing of the filter material, and increase the capacity of the water plant. And that is it. So if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
Councilor Turkey, then Councilor Campbell.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. Not so much question, just a statement. I think this is proof that the town and the folks that we have running our water plant are staying ahead of the game and ahead of the times, reducing the carbon footprint, and actually bringing us up to speed where we should be and reducing the treated water. I think it's something that we can celebrate. I know a lot of times people always don't see the environmental impact. Some of these changes have it, and I think this is just one of them. Maybe doesn't get seen or heard enough. So I just wanted to call that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shankar, what would be the timeline of the project once approved?
So if through Mayor Shankar, approved tonight, that will give Rose the go ahead. And the first step will be to file the application with the Ministry of Environment. That could take, I'd say 3 to 6 months, depending on how it goes through the process. And then in the meantime, they can be ordering the equipment. So that ideally this would be installed next summer, next fall, before the temperatures in the river kind of drop below zero. That's ideally when Aqua said they'd like to install it. So it'd probably be about a year before it's installed, seeing the savings of water.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I chip in?
Go ahead.
First of all, I'm in favor of doing this, and I echo Councillor Kirkby's sentiments. I couldn't have said it any better. However, it's not town policy and has never been town policy to spend money without issuing, putting it out to tender. Even our docks in the marina, we've had one person do it every time. He does most of the docks along the St. Lawrence, but we still put it out to tender every year. This report indicates that there aren't many people that do it. That is another way of saying that there are other people that do it. So this is several $100,000, and I am certainly in favor of us proceeding down this route, but it should be put out to tender.
Question on that, Matthew. So Aqua runs our facility, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so they would know the players involved. Did they, from the report, it says that they kind of picked the local one already?
So they highly recommend this particular vendor. I think in their mind, there's not a lot of companies out there that will do both the design and approval process through the ministry, as well as installing. So we can certainly put it out to tender, but we would have to pay an engineering firm to develop the vast majority of those designs and whatnot, and then put it out to tender and kind of have a separate process. So you're getting more people involved, more individuals that are going to want to make a profit on their portion of the project. And so that's why we were trying to find a vendor that could do all in one as opposed to doing multiple. And so Aqua kind of brought them forward to say, we've done some great work with them in our other plants and other facilities that we're responsible for in municipalities. And we think that they would do a great job, as well as at the same time, Aqua knows them and is able to work with them to oversee the project.
Okay. Does that help answer your question or your point, Mr. McConnell? Councillor?
Well, thank you, Mayor Shankar. It's certainly a response, but I don't think it's an answer. If we have to undertake the engineering ourselves before we put it out to tender, then that's something that this company doesn't have to do. So presumably their tender will be less. One way or another, the engineering has to be done. Again, I'm in favor of doing this, but I would have to vote against it if it doesn't go out to tender. Thank you.
Thank you. My question, I do have a question for Nathan. Nathan, so Aqua runs our facility. Aqua checks everything. Why are we gonna pay them 10% to oversee the work?
It's, yeah,
So it's part of our requirement under our agreement, that any, major works that what they're overseeing, that they charge a 10% administration fee. But really, it's also the fact that we're paying Aqua to oversee the project as opposed to an engineering firm, that would charge at least as much, if not more, to really go through that same administrative process.
And they're the experts.
Correct. Part of the reason why you would want to marry the engineering with the installer is that sometimes engineers suggest solutions that aren't necessarily cost effective when you're trying to install the item itself, because this has the design work has to go before you're actually purchasing the items. It has to be approved by MECP. You can't then put it out to tender, get the approval by MECP as part of that, and then decide to go in a different direction because you've already received that approval for a certain layout, for a certain design from MECP. So you don't have that flexibility to then kind of change directions once you have a constructor on site to be able to change it to perhaps save money or counteract what could be a design flaw.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions?
I'll ask one.
Oh, sure.
If we did put it out to tender, could we use Rose Mechanical to do the engineering?
We can go back and ask them that. Generally, you wouldn't have the engineer that's doing the design for the tender to also be a respondent to the tender.
To the work. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm gonna reread the recommendation. Council directs staff to proceed with the water treatment plant filter upgrade with Rosemec Ontario Inc. for $438,350 plus applicable taxes. We have a mover and seconder, so I'm just gonna call the question. All in favor? Opposed?
Me?
Okay, thank you, carried. All right, thank you for all the staff reports. No resolutions tonight. There is one bylaw for approval this evening. So it's 14.1. Bylaw 37-2024, the sale of surplus land, Dame Street West, north of Town Hall Building. The recommendation reads that bylaw 37-2024, being a bylaw to authorize the sale of approximately 10,400 square feet of land located on James Street West, north of the Town Hall Building by the Corporation of the Town of Prescott to Habitat for Humanity, Thousand Islands, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Burton, Councillor Kirkby. Any discussion on this item? Councillor Burton?
No discussion, but I'd like a recorded vote if possible, please.
Absolutely. Are you in favor of this motion?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Campbell?
I will not be supporting it. It has nothing to do with Habitat for Humanity. I've worked with Habitat before on our first Prescott build, but it's just the land in question.
Sure. Okay. Anyone else have a discussion?
If I may,
Yeah.
if you read through this agreement, it is flawed in several spots. Like it, you all know I'm not going to vote for it, but even if I was going to vote for it, it is flawed and it needs correction. And I believe if it came from our lawyers, that's where it needs to go to be corrected. The down payment is listed as nil in one spot and is listed at 10% in another spot. In one location, Matthew Armstrong is listed as a purchaser, and our lawyers are listed as lawyers for the purchaser, it makes the property itself is described very vaguely, and in all fairness, it does say it's going to be pinned down after we vote this. But the map that shows the area in question, it's got to be 70 years old. It lists the school instead of the town hall. There's no mention of what happens with the trees, whether the trees are on town property, whether they remain in town property, or whether they are on the property being purchased. The property is described as industrial in at least two instances, and it's not industrial at all, it's institutional. Those are the things that I picked out on. Unfortunately, I made a list and it's dark here and I can't read it, but that's what I recall from having read through it. And we're not doing due diligence, even if most of you are in favor of doing this. If we pass this the way it is, it needs to go back to the lawyers to be fixed and then sent back to council for approval, which I have no doubt it will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Matthew, we'll fix up those mistakes.
Correct. In terms of the purchaser, one side is for the purchaser that they haven't put the information in yet. The seller is on the right-hand side. That includes my name as well as the town solicitor. So that's not incorrect. If there's anything that refers to industrial, we'll change it to institutional, and we'll fix any other issues that Councillor McConnell may have. It is always helpful if those are able to be identified before the meeting, but certainly we can address it after.
Yeah, that would be good. Okay, anyone else? I'm gonna call the question. Right?
Recorded vote.
Oh, recorded vote, yes, so you're gonna do it.
Okay, Councillor Burton,
Yes.
Councillor Campbell,
No.
Councillor Kirkby,
Yes.
Councillor Moffat,
Yes.
Councillor McConnell,
No,
Mayor Shankar,
Yes.
Councillor Young,
Yes.
motion passes 5-2.
Thank you. Okay, under new business, we have two items today. First one is 15.1 is Steve Clark's MPP. The Leeds Granville 1,000 miles of Rito rates $10 a day childcare. Councilor Kirkby, you requested this one and the second one, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. So as Mayor Shankar pointed out, it's a $10 a day childcare resolution of support. So whereas on March 22nd, 2022, the federal and provincial government announced funding agreement that will reduce the cost of childcare in Ontario to an average of $10 per day by 2025, 2026. And whereas for profit and non-profit quotas, 30/70 mandated in the agreement artificially limits the number of licenses that can be given out and therefore limits the childcare spaces that can be created. And whereas families are being forced to wait for $10 a day childcare, even though there is an unspent budget for unrealized not-for-profit centers due to the lack of not-for-profits applying, and whereas the changing of the ratios could unlock thousands of new $10 childcare spaces immediately. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Town of Prescott requests the federal and provincial governments to fix the archaic for-profit, not-for-profit quotas in the agreement, and that the Mayor Shankar writes a letter on behalf of Council of the Town of Prescott to the Association of Municipalities, AMO, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, asking them to advocate for change to the FP and FP ratios, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Todd Smith, Minister of Education, the Honourable Gina Suds, Minister of Families Children and Social Development. Michael Barnett, Member of Parliament, Leeds in Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes, and Steve Clark, Member of Provincial Parliament, Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes. Thank you.
You're giving me homework?
Hey?
Giving me homework?
Sorry.
Okay, is that a motion? A motion?
Yes, I'll motion that.
You're gonna move it?
I will move it.
Oh, Councillor Locker will second it. All in favor? Carried, very good. Councillor, you're up again.
Thank you. Thank you for these sheets, by the way.
Thanks.
Saves me rambling. So
That's fine.
physician shortage resolutions. Whereas the state of healthcare in Ontario is in crisis with 2.3 million Ontarians lacking access to family doctors, emergency room closures across the province, patients being de-rostered, and 40% of family doctors considering retirement over the next 5 years. And whereas it is becoming increasingly challenging to attract and retain an adequate healthcare workforce throughout the health sector across Ontario. And whereas Ontario municipal governments play an integral part in the healthcare system through responsibilities in public health, long-term care, paramedicine, and other investments, and whereas the percentage of family physicians practicing comprehensive family medicine has declined from 77 in 2008 to 65% in 2022, and whereas the capita healthcare spending in Ontario is the lowest of all provinces in Canada. And whereas a robust workforce developed through a provincial sector-wide health human resources strategy would significantly improve access to health services across the province. Now therefore, it be resolved that the town of Prescott urge the province of Ontario to recognize the physician shortage in the town of Prescott and Ontario, to fund healthcare appropriately and ensure every Ontarian has access to a physician care, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Sylvia Jones, Ontario Minister of Health, Steve Clark, Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lake, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, the Ontario Medical Association, Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus, and all municipalities in Leeds and Grenville. Thank you. I'll make a motion for that. Move it.
Motion?
Yes.
Seconded by Councillor Burton. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
It's great that they're wrote out. I'm good.
No notices of motion tonight, so we'll move on to Mayor's proclamation. There's one this week. It's National Legion Week. Having said that, the lunches and dinners are starting Thursdays again. I think it's club sandwich this week. Anyway, just happen to know for a friend. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legions include 390 branches with membership of over 89,000 members. Whereas the Royal Canadian Legions are a non-profit organization, assuming the responsibility of maintaining the tradition of remembrance of those who paid the supreme sacrifice by defending our great nation in past and present conflicts, so that we as Canadians can live in the freedom that we enjoy today. And whereas they continue to support and represent our veterans of past and present with many benefits as a result of the determination of our thousands of dedicated members at all levels of the organization. And whereas Legion branches across the province work together with their affiliated organization, the Ladies Auxiliary, to raise funds in support of the many programs within the Ontario Command of the Royal Canadian Legion. And whereas millions of dollars are raised from branch and Ladies Auxiliaries projects, the Legion supports numerous programs benefiting veterans, seniors, and youth within our communities. Therefore, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Prescott does hereby proclaim September 15th to September 21st, 2024 as National Legion Week in the Town of Prescott, dated this third day of September, 2024. Having said that, are we going to put up their banners for Legion Week? Or is that more closer?
It's closer to,
Remembrance Day?
yes.
Okay, any media online? No. Oh, man. Okay, we're gonna take I'm gonna move us into closed session and we'll take us comfort break. So the recommended motion is that council move into closed session at 8:06 PM to discuss matters pertaining to closed session minutes, an identifiable individual on a committee application, purchase and sale, potential purchase, and that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, deputy clerk, and Nathan Richards. All right, scratch that. The rest of us remain in the room. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Kirkby, Counselor Lockett, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 5 minutes there, Counselor McConnell. Turn some
Good
lights
enough.
on. Good.
Get your flashlight out.
Go. Okay, rise and report. During the closed session, council approved the closed session minutes dated July 15, 2024, under item 19.1. Provided direction on item 19.2, an identifiable individual, and also provided direction on purchase and sale on item 19.3. Okay, 21 is the confirming bylaw. The recommendation reads that bylaw 38-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on September 3rd, 2024, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Kirkby, Deputy Mayor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. 22 is adjournment. Recommendation is that the meeting be adjourned to Monday, September 16th at 6 PM. Time is 8:35 PM. Moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Burton. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
Streak stays alive.
Yep. Haven't missed one yet.